This video is sponsored by Normandy 1998, Christopher Mitchell, 212th Trooper, Silas 1610, Rune Scribble, Legendary Ray, Ash, Kitsu the Kitsune, and Arcticase, and brought to you by Christopher Mitchell who requested this topic. If there is a video you want me to make, just head over to Patreon or become a channel member and select the Pickled Producer tier, since among other benefits, you'll get to make a video request every month, be it the continuation of an existing series or a brand new story. Now, before we get into today's story, I just want to ask you to do me a favor, hit that like button, since it tells YouTube you enjoy what I do, and check whether you're subscribed, since less than half of my viewers are, and it's a free way to keep up to date with all my content. In return, I'll do all I can to keep making regular quality content for you. Thanks, and let's hop in. As you know, partnership is a core theme of the Pokemon franchise. That's why I'm excited to announce that BetterHelp is the paid partner of this video. BetterHelp is a service dedicated to matching you with the right therapist for you and your needs, since starting therapy can be daunting. However, once you get over that hurdle, it can also be massively beneficial, helping you sort through stuff that's on your mind, and even stuff you didn't realize was bothering you, be it day-to-day life worries or something bigger. To put it in a Pokemon context, BetterHelp is like the episode Charizard Chills, where Ash helps Charizard sort through its issues with Damien and how that's affected its outlook and attitude since evolving. Now, think how much better things would have been for Charizard if it knew it had someone it could talk to about that stuff earlier on. Now there's a what-if idea right there. However, you don't have to ask what if when it comes to yourself, since BetterHelp has made it convenient to connect with a credentialed therapist. All you need to do is click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/pickleddill. That's betterhelp.com/pickleddill with 2 Ds and 2 thumbs up from me, since by using my link you'll also get 10% off your first month of therapy. But with that said, let's get on to the story. Accepting the handshake, Ash, Verity, and Sorrel all greet Dr. Zed and in turn introduce themselves, before asking what he's doing here, to which Professor Oak explains that Zed is an old colleague who now runs the Biotope Company, and they were just comparing notes on his current research. As an aspiring professor, Sorrel curiously asks what the newcomer is studying, to which Dr. Zed explains that he's looking for the healing spring said to be located in the forest of Akoya at the base of Mount Silver, with this only getting the green-haired boy more interested, as such a find would be the discovery of a lifetime. Nodding, Zed concurs, while affably inviting them all to come take a look for themselves if they'd like, an offer made even sweeter when Oak points out that Mount Silver also plays host to the Johto League, meaning if Ash is looking for his next gym challenge, that might be the way to go. Liking the sound of this, Ash happily agrees, stating in that case, he'll come visit Dr. Zed once he's gotten his 8 Johto gym badges, while Sorrel nods that he'll come too, since he'd quite like to see Biotope's state-of-the-art research equipment, and Verity grins there's no way they're leaving her behind, not when rumor has it that Mount Silver's crawling with super strong Pokemon for her to battle and catch. As a result, the trio agree to travel together once more, with them setting off the following day after relaying their story to Oak and dropping in on Delia. Naturally, their first stop is New Bark Town, where they meet the absent-minded Professor Elm and return to Totodile Team Rocket had stole like cannon, with their path remaining that way until they come across a damaged forest. Here they meet a forest ranger named Woodruff, who explains that an invasive group of Pinsir recently crossed the nearby river and started invading Heracross territory, causing the 2 species of bug types to clash over resources. Wanting to help, the trio set out immediately, though before they can help the Pokemon, they must first help a boy who they spot being washed away by the river. Leaping in with Squirtle and Verity's Piplup and Kabuto by his side, Ash helps drag the stranger to shore where he fortunately begins coughing up water before sitting up in a state of shock. In kindly voices, Ash, Verity, and Sorrel all attempt to assure him that he's safe and ask his name, though in response, he merely babbles out variants of the same word, Zarude, before loping off deeper into the forest with a gait more akin to an ape Pokemon's than a human's. More than a little perplexed by this response, the trio muse they hope that kid's okay wherever he's going, though for now they need to get back to stopping the Pinsir and Heracross from fighting. However, it seems these two concerns are not as disparate as they might appear, since when Ash and his friends reach the main sap tree that the 2 Pokemon swarms are fighting over, they find the strange boy in the middle of everything, his arms thrown wide while he keeps repeating that strange word, this time in a pleading voice. Surprisingly, this seems to make sense to the bug types, who listen carefully before responding in their own language which the boy can evidently understand, as he along with the representative of the Pinsir and Heracross groups have a conversation. Then, most shockingly of all, they seem to reach a consensus, as the Heracross move to one side of the tree, while the Pinsir are allowed to take the other, suggesting a happy ending for all. That is, until Team Rocket arrive, revealing that the sap shortage that caused the Pokemon to fight is their doing, and now they want that final tree. Refusing to let that happen, Ash and co leap into battle with them, while having set their differences aside, the Heracross and Pinsir join forces to help while the strange boy leads them, so that soon the crooks are sent blasting off. Not only that, but having seen that the trio are friends of Pokemon, the boy approaches them more amicably this time, still only repeating that one one word over and over. Thankfully, it seems Pikachu understands what this means, as he becomes their representative, and seeing that his best buddy likes this kid and even dubs him PP, which is a special honor as the mouse generally only gives unique names to friends, Ash treats him warmly too. Through this discussion, they even manage to get one word out of him that is not so rude, with that being his name, Coco. Through this and a mix of sign language and drawing in the dirt, the group are able to learn that Coco was swept away from his home by that river and now wants to return, though he doesn't know how to get there, since all he knows is that it's in a forest, and that it isn't this forest. Kindly, Verity suggests that he can join them then, since they'll be going all over Johto, so they'll be sure to visit his forest eventually. Liking the sound of this, Coco agrees, with him becoming their newest companion, even if communication remains difficult since he seemingly only speaks Pokemon. Nonetheless, this does come in handy when renting a Hoot for the trek through a deep illusion forest, as while it may not have the best temperament or sense of direction, Coco is able to convince it to try its best, so that it eventually manages to lead them to their goal. Not only that, but when they reach Floranda, Coco is able to help Bella the Blossom out of her funk, allowing the talent show to go off without a hitch. Unfortunately, one thing that Coco does not take as easily to is human society, as the noise and bustle of the city proves rather painful to the wild boy, while the expectation to wear clothes in place of a loincloth and body paint is an annoying impost. Thankfully, with Ash, Sorrel and Verity's support and encouragement, he does slowly adapt, though he still feels more comfortable in nature and in the presence of Pokemon rather than people. And speaking of Pokemon, while Ash does not catch Heracross due to their lack of bonding, he does still get Chikorita, while Verity befriends a young Stantler who joins her team. From here, it is not long before they arrive in Violet City, where Sudowoodo cinches the battle against Falcon with absolutely no difficulty, earning Ash's Zephyr badge and allowing them to push forward to Azalea Town. Though, before they do, there is a rather sad stop to be had in the Charasific Valley, as while Ash's Charizard is stronger due to being its I Choose You self who obeyed earlier and so battled more, particularly against stronger rivals like Cross and Incineroar, it is still far from the best around. Recognizing it would be squandering its potential to stay with him rather than train, Ash has a rather heartfelt goodbye with his fiery friend. Though, unlike other partings, both know that this is more of a see you later, with the promise that when they meet again, they'll both be at their best. Luckily, one friend Ash does not lose is Chikorita, as when she attempts to run away over her jealousy towards Pikachu and the affection Ash shows him, Coco, who still prefers to sleep outside, sees her and talks to her, with their conversation helping her to realize that Ash's love for Pikachu in no way diminishes his love for her, so that she returns to his side and makes an effort to make peace with Pikachu. All the while, the wild boy watches on happily, since the last time he saw someone he loves, he stormed away in anger, and now he doesn't know if he'll ever get a chance to make up with him. On a happier note, Verity finally gets a proper trainer battle of her own when her Kabuto evolves into Kabutops to shut up a know-it-all named Shingo, who believes data is the only thing that matters in battling. Though, unfortunately, this victory only comes after he reveals that her mother is Cynthia, the champion of the Sinnoh League, as the only reason he agreed to battle her in the first place is because of the data he had on her. This naturally excites Ash, who asks why his companion never told them this, though defensively, Verity explains that she's tired of being in her mum's shadow, that's why she left Sinnoh, and why she's working to be the best in her own right, a dream Ash, Sorrel, and even Coco, whose human speech is slowly coming along, promise to support, since regardless of whose daughter she is, she's still their friend first and foremost. Not long after this, Ash catches himself a Cyndaquil, which he uses to torch Bugsy's bugs, meaning Gym Badge 2 is in the bag, and then a little while later says goodbye to Squirtle as it rejoins the Squirtle squad to lead them in their firefighting exploits. Thankfully, this slot is soon filled by Totodile, though here it is caught in a regular Pokeball, since due to never needing to visit Kurt, the kids never got their Apricon balls. Additionally, due to Verity not being a water trainer, she never tries to lay any claim to Totodile, meaning Ash just gets another teammate without issue, and then another a little while later when his shiny Noctowl from Cannon comes flying into view. From here, things stick more or less to Cannon for a bit, with the only exception being the episode Forest Grumps is skipped since Coco is able to talk down the Ursaring so they don't attack and split them all up, with the focus of this time instead being spent on investigating to see if this forest is Coco's home, only to be met with dismay when it becomes clear that it is not. Subsequently, things resume the canon path all the way up to Ash's battle with Whitney, which ends in defeat at the hands of her Miltank. However, here the boy receives a surprising coach for his rematch, Coco, as while the wild child isn't particularly accustomed to conventional battling, he does know about survival and observation, with these being what he passes on to Ash, as he informs him that he approaches every match like a predator, so when he meets a bigger predator like that Miltank, he loses. He needs to learn how to look at things from the perspective of prey, since they have many strategies for survival that he could make use of to become a more well-rounded battler. Seeing the logic in this, Ash decides to give it a shot, with the group briefly leaving Goldenrod to observe the Pokemon in nature, here they bear witness to the ways in which creatures like Rattata, Caterpie, and even the odd Whismur use things like terrain, speed, and their ability to hide and ambush to overcome bigger and stronger foes. With this in mind, Ash challenges Whitney again, this time using a more prey-like strategy, as he has Cyndaquil employ Smokescreen to blind Miltank so it can land surprise attacks, while Pikachu's Iron Tail messes up the dirt floor of the battlefield, so the normal type can't use Rollout as effectively. Through this, the boy is able to prevail once more, with him thanking Koko for his advice, since this win wouldn't have been possible without his jungle pal's help. Unfortunately, not everyone is as happy with Koko, as when he learns about the bug catching contest and how Pokemon are kept confined for human amusement and worse, given out as prizes, he goes on a bit of a rampage, even battling a few of the trainers in a manner very similar to a Pokemon, once again raising the question of the boy's origin. As a result of this, the event ends up being cancelled. While making use of his improved speech, Ash, Sorrel, and Verity question Koko on what's going on, with it being here that he drops the bombshell revelation that he does not know he is a human, instead believing himself to be a Zarude. Due to Zarude's status as mythical Pokemon, Sorrel is fascinated by this, while Verity is concerned due to this belief potentially causing problems for him down the road. As for Ash, while he doesn't understand it, Koko's his friend, so he'll support him to the end whatever he calls himself, human or Zarude. This becomes something of a theme during the next leg of their journey, as with a lot of the episodes between Goldenrod and Ecruteak being Brock and Misty-centric, these are replaced by small adventures, in which Verity attempts to encourage Koko to embrace his humanity, while Sorrel wishes to understand more about Zarude from the boy, resulting in this being the time where Koko's full backstory is revealed, as the gang learn that he was raised by a Zarude named Dada in a forest somewhere in the northern part of Johto. Additionally, it comes to light that the last time Koko saw Dada, they had an argument, because Dada refused to tell him why he can't learn moves like other Pokemon, causing him to storm off and fall in the river that Ash and Co found him in. With this all out in the open, the group redouble their promise to get him home, though first they have some business to take care of in Ecruteak City, with the first order of business being to visit the Burned Tower, since Sorrel is fascinated both by the history of it and the ties to 4 legendary Pokemon, Ho-Oh, Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. However, it seems he isn't the only one, as it is here they come across Ucine, who takes his canonical dislike to Ash, as well as Sorrel and Verity when he learns they've not only seen Ho-Oh but Entei too. In turn, Sorrel does not appreciate his desire to catch and selfishly hoard legendaries, especially Suicune, since it is anathema to his respect for the majesty of these mythical Pokemon. As a result, it is not long before the pair of rival legend lovers engage in battle, with Sorrel's Scyther proving a good match for Ucine's Alakazam. However, ultimately this bout proves inconclusive, as before a winner can be declared, Suicune appears before them with a roar, prompting Ucine to run off after it, while Koko translates the legendary Pokemon's message, that such divisiveness makes unnecessary ripples, when people and Pokemon ought to get along like a calm river. Vowing to think long and hard on what Suicune told them, Sorrel joins Ash, Verity, and Koko as they next head to the Ecruteak Gym, where Noctowl proves itself the MVP like in canon, earning Ash the Fog Badge and setting the gang on their way towards Olivine City. During this trip, Chikorita evolves into Bayleaf, though thanks to the prior chat with Koko, she does not run off shortly afterwards. Unfortunately, one Pokemon the Wild Child cannot help is Sparkle the Ampharos, since when they arrive in Olivine, Jasmine informs them that she can't have a gym battle until her friend's illness is cured, though for that she'll need to travel to Cianwood City. Nonetheless, Koko does try, convinced that as a Zarude he will be able to use jungle healing to fix Sparkle's condition, though sadly this yields no result, with the group making the decision to go to Cianwood and get the medicine. From here, things go like canon, with them sending the medicine back to Olivine and then Ash beating Chuck with Pikachu and Bayleaf. Unfortunately, even with Sparkle on the mend, Jasmine apparently won't be ready to start accepting challenges for a while, so Ash and Co decide to go to the Whirl Islands where a water-type tournament is being held. However, since Ash never caught Krabby and Squirtle is gone, he lacks the necessary 2 water types to enter, meaning he has to sit this tournament out, with he, Sorrel, and Koko cheering Verity on as she, Piplup, and Kabutops get one step closer to their dream of being the very best by winning the competition. Not long after this, they also run into their old pal Tierno, who reveals that he is helping to protect a baby Lugia named Silver from Team Rocket. Though, when Ash reveals they've beaten those bozos 100 times so his friend shouldn't be worried, the dancing boy reveals that a different pair are hunting Silver, a scary lady named Cassidy, and her partner whose name was Chuck, or something like that. At once, the gang agree to help out, with Sorrel and Koko being eager to spend time with Silver, while Ash and Verity hang out with Tierno and Silver's informal caregiver, a boy named Oliver. Unfortunately, even combined they cannot stop Dr. Namba's scheme, as Bill and Cassidy do manage to make off with a juvenile Lugia. Though refusing to give up on a friend, the kids give chase all the way to an underwater base. Here they are surprised to find several pieces of tech which strangely bear the logo of the Biotope Company, though considering their main goal is to rescue Silver while remaining undetected, this is promptly forgotten. However, what is much harder to forget is the news that Silver is in fact only bait to draw in its parent, with this being Dr. Namba's true ambition, as to control the beast of the sea will grant Team Rocket incredible power. Sickened by the notion of using a parent and child against each other, and only missing Dada more in the wake of this revelation, Coco abandons caution and attempts to free the young Lugia, and while this does not succeed on its own, the resultant confusion is enough for Sorrel and Tieno to hack into the Rocket computer system while Very and Ash smuggle the baby legend past Nanba and the Grunts. Thanks to this teamwork, the expanded group were able to set Silver free early, which in turn means its parent is never captured, and while this does come at the cost of Namba more or less getting away scot-free, no one seems to overly mind, not when they see Silver and its parent reunited. Though, as they prepare to go, since it's about time for Ash's Olivine gym battle, he, Verity, and Sorrel all promise Coco that soon he'll be back with his Dada too. He can count on it. From here, another patch of canonicity strikes up, as upon returning to the harbour city, Ash wins his mineral badge with Pikachu and Cyndaquil. However, since Bulbasaur is already at Oak's lab, Bulbasaur the Ambassador never happens. Though speaking of Oaks, Ash does reunite with Gary not long after this, and following an extreme Pokemon race, he gets his Phanpy egg, which promptly hatches, forcing him to send Sudowoodo to the lab instead. Following this, the gang come across a rare rampaging red Gyarados, though unlike Cannon, Coco's ability to speak Pokemon means he knows what the poor beast is screaming about, with its story being enough to bring him to tears. Apparently, Team Rocket scientists experimented on it, and used an evolution inducement ray on it against its will. But since they were slipshod in their work, it's now stuck in a painful, partially evolved state, hence its red coloration. Were that not bad enough, Team Rocket now want to capture and study it so they can replicate the horrific process on countless other Pokemon, something Ash and his friends will not allow. To this end, Ash, Verity, and Sorrel stand against Tyson and his assorted grunts while Coco rides atop Gyarados as it attempts to flee. Thanks to being a well-oiled trio by now who have fought legends together, the three friends are able to beat back the Rockets even without Lance's help, while Coco's dual worldview as a human and Pokemon allows him to see through the traps they lay for Gyarados, so that this ends much earlier and happier. However, the question remains what to do with Gyarados now, and while Sorrel suggests sending it to Professor Oak or Elm, Coco refuses, since that would just mean another human poking and prodding it. Instead, he suggests to continue upriver as far north as it can, since maybe if it's lucky it'll find its way to his home forest where no bad people will be able to hurt it. All he asks is that if it finds his Dada along the way, it deliver a message for him. He misses him, and hopes to see him again really soon. Having grown quite fond of this young stranger with the wild hair, Gyarados offers to let him continue riding on its head, since that way he can deliver the message himself. And while he is tempted, since this would probably be the fastest way to be reunited with Dada, he ultimately declines, since he still wants to travel with his human friends, and make sure they get to see the forest and meet Dada too. Respecting this, Gyarados sets off north, while Ash and Co move on to Mahogany Town, where they encounter Price, and help him find his lost Piloswine, thus melting his frozen heart after so many years. But that's not the only thing that gets melted, as Cyndaquil's fire also does a number on the old man's ice types, earning Ash's Glacier badge, and putting him on the path to his final bout in Blackthorn City. However, before he can challenge the gym, he must first meet the gym leader, as on the way, he and his friends encounter a young woman named Claire and her Dratini in the process of performing a purification ritual in the ancient dragon fang that the people of Blackthorn hold sacred. Naturally, things cannot be so simple, as Team Rocket attempt to steal Dratini for the boss, though in the end, the wily serpent proves too great a match for them, evolving and breaking free before returning to Claire so that she can give her prayer to the dragon fang. With this business concluded, Ash is at last free to begin his final gym battle, though not before conducting one last-minute switch to his team, as having seen how strong Claire's new dragon heir is, he calls back Charizard to help him out in what will surely be an epic clash of dragons. And in this he gets his wish, as Bayleaf, Noctowl and Charizard put their all into matching the power of Claire's Kingdra, Gyarados and Dragonair. Meanwhile, thanks to Sorrel's Lucario and its aura sensitivity, when Team Rocket attempt to break into the gym and steal the Dragon Fang, the Steel Fighting type senses this and so alerts its trainer, with he, Verity and Coco slipping away to prevent the robbery that would otherwise have ended Ash's gym battle prematurely. As a result, the match goes off without a hitch, resulting in Ash earning his final badge and qualifying for the Silver Conference at long last. However, before this can happen, there is one more crucial task to fulfill, returning Coco to his home, since having been through pretty much every forest in Johto by this point, positioning and process of elimination suggests that the forest of Akoya around Mount Silver is where the boy is from. Eager to reunite with his Dada, Coco can barely contain himself, galloping on all fours at his top speed while Ash keeps pace since he can't wait to meet his friend's family, not to mention challenge yet another Pokemon League. Unfortunately, they do not receive the warm welcome they had anticipated, as no sooner have they set foot in the forest than vines descend to wrap around Ash, Verity, and Sorrel, while a black simian Pokemon with a ragged pink cape bellows at the human interlopers to get out. Responding in Zarude, Koko protests that these humans are his friends, and spotting the boy, Dada leaps down and attempts to shield him, sternly stating that humans are dangerous and untrustworthy, though this just earns a further rebuke, as Koko asks if he is untrustworthy too. Is that why Dada never told him he's a human? Clearly, this is not the reunion either of them had wanted or anticipated, with both father and son sagging slightly, as Koko attempts to apologize for his harshness and express how much he truly missed Dada, only for the Zarude to wave it off, admitting that he is the one in the wrong, and promising to show him the truth. Releasing the other humans from the vines, Dada then leads the group deeper in until they reach a long-abandoned research outpost bearing the logo of Biotope. Here Dada explains that he found Koko after his real parents were killed, and that he has done his best to raise him as his own, though he understands if this breach is too great, and Koko wishes to leave again with the humans, since one thing he will not budge on is that they have to go. For a second, Koko looks between Ash and his father, quite literally torn between two worlds. Then, with a deep sigh, he states that he wants to stay here with Dada, though if it's okay, he'd like to lead his friends to their destination so he might get a chance to say goodbye. Understanding the pain of losing comrades, Dada acquiesces, telling Koko where to find him when he's done, and bestowing him with a pendant that he found around his neck as a baby, before vanishing into the trees once more. Understandably, Ash, Verity, and Sorrel are saddened that this will be the last time they see Koko, though respecting that his goal was always to get home, they do not hold it against him, as they all begin exiting the forest. Finally, after a few hours of trekking, they arrive on the border between Okoye and Silvertown, though it seems they're not alone, as here they find a far more modern Biotope camp, with Dr. Zed coming to greet them as he affably chuckles that he thought they'd forgotten their promise. Smiling too in spite of their heavy hearts, the kids fill the doctor in on what they've been up to since they last met, as well as introducing him to Koko. At once, the scientist seems to take a deep interest in the wild child, especially his pendant, though passing this off as scientific curiosity, he bids them all good luck on their travels, this being where Koko and the gang part ways, as Ash, Verity, and Sorrel continue on to Silvertown, while Koko returns to the forest. Due to arriving earlier than in canon, Ash is able to register for the league here, as well as to get some excess training in the athlete's village. It is also during this time that he runs into Gary again, with the pair eagerly anticipating a chance to have a proper battle, since they were denied the chance back at the Indigo Plateau. Finally, after several weeks, the Silver Conference begins, and while Ash doesn't get to light the torch this time, he does get off to a red-hot start, with his three preliminary opponents falling like dominoes before him and Pikachu thanks to the extra training they've had, along with opportunities to battle more high-level opponents than the main timeline. As a result, he soon finds himself placed in the semi-finals that will determine his eligibility to take part in the victory tournament. Though to do so, he will need to face off in a round robin against a girl named Macy and a boy named Jackson, or maybe it's Vincent, who can say. First up in this roster is Macy, and due to feeling less possessive of Ash due to Misty's replacement with Verity, who has shown no romantic interest in the boy, she is less fired up, though she does still use her same trio of Slugma, Quilava, and her surprise Electabuzz. Luckily, due to Sorrel having correctly anticipated she would use this to beat Ash's water types, he has wisely chosen to make Phanpy his third, alongside Totodile and a temporarily returned Squirtle. Thanks to this, Ash gains his first round robin victory, before moving on to face Vincent Jackson, whose hubris he promptly pops, as while in canon Ash and the boy of many names ended their battle in a draw, here Ash's Cyndaquil, Pikachu, and Sudowoodo all have Koko's training around battling like prey to guide them to victory, against a foe who never once considered the possibility that he might lose. And just like that, Ash's perfect score advances him to the victory tournament, where he is shocked to learn his first full battle opponent will be none other than Gary himself. This is something he's been waiting his whole life for, with his mum and Professor Oak even flying in to watch the match. However, life cannot be so easy for our spiky-haired protagonist, as in the morning of his battle with Gary, a sudden commotion breaks out in the forest, with several Pokemon running directly into the athlete's village and chittering in clear anxiety. Having been getting in some last-minute training before the match, Ash and Pikachu bear witness to this, and upon hearing what is wrong with the other Pokemon, the electric rodent turns to his trainer and utters one word, PP, his name for Koko. Though he cannot speak the language of Pokemon like his friend, Ash immediately understands this must mean the wild boy is in trouble, with Sorrel and Verity quickly reaching the same conclusion as they ask what he plans to do, since as Verity is quick to point out, if he leaves to go help he runs the risk of forfeiting his match to Gary, while Sorrel critically asks what good is a league title if it's won on the back of betrayal. Nodding, Ash replies that he's gonna go help, since he'd never turn his back on a pal, with his two companions promptly agreeing as they follow the wild Pokemon back into the foliage. Remembering the location Dada had told Coco to meet him, the trio make that their first port of call, though it seems they aren't alone, as when they arrive a large mech is wreaking havoc while Coco and Dada try to protect the wild Pokemon. At first, the heroes assume this is yet another Team Rocket scheme, though to their surprise, they see Biotope branding once again, while in the cockpit is none other than Dr. Zed. Urgently, Ash asks what's going on, with Coco explaining how this human tracked him back to their sanctuary and has begun destroying everything, while Zed rather maniacally protests that he's only doing this to find the healing spring, since that will allow him to save countless people. Angrily, Coco bites back that it would come at the cost of countless Pokemon, though this just earns him a sneer that Pokemon are lesser creatures, so if their well-being must be compromised for humans, then so be it. Such a worldview appalls Ash and his friends, though none more so than Coco, who abandons talking in favor of attack, swinging from a vine and attempting to scale the mech so he can get at Zed. However, in response, the Mad Doctor simply cackles that if this freak child has chosen to live as a Pokemon, then he can die as one too, before swinging one of his mech's crushing pincers at Coco. As one, Ash, Sorrel, and Verity cry for him to look out, though it is already too late, with the only thing that saves the wild child from his fate being a sudden shove, as Dada pushes his son out of the way and takes the lethal blow in his stead. At once, the forest seems to grow silent, aside from the sound of the Zarude's body hitting the ground, and Coco's sobs as he begs Dada to wake up, though all quickly reach the same conclusion. If Dada, who would do anything for the boy, is not responding when he is pleading with all his heart, then there can only be one reason. He cannot wake up. Thinking fast, Sorrel asks Coco if he knows where this healing spring is, and when the wild child nods, he implores him to take Dada there, while he and the others will hold off this creep Zed. Seeing the logic in this, Coco obeys, dragging his dad's body with help from the other wild Pokemon, while Sorrel along with Verity and Ash engage this mech in battle. Here the benefit of having a full team rather than just Pikachu becomes readily apparent, as he, Bayleaf, Cyndaquil, Sudowoodo, and Piplup employ ranged attacks, while Lucario, Scyther, Stantler, Kabutops, and Noctowl deliver slashes to the mech's blind spots. As for Charizard, it holds nothing back, burning and wrestling the tank since Zed's philosophy is not too far from how Cross once was. Meanwhile, over with Coco, he has at last gotten Dada to the spring, though in spite of his best efforts, its power isn't working, and the old ape isn't waking up. Truly, it is a hopeless sight. Though refusing to give up on his father, Coco makes one last desperate gambit, as while it did not work before, maybe if he truly believes himself both human and Pokemon, he can use jungle healing. Planting this vow in his heart, the young boy then places both his hands on Dada's chest and roars in Zarude for him to wake up, please! Suddenly, green light bursts into life around them, as the forest itself responds to his plea, granting him the power he needs, so that a moment later, Dada opens his eyes and embraces his son. However, he is not the only Zarude to be moved, as having seen this light, the other Zarude of the forest who had once cast Dada out now come to his aid, with their might being added to the power of Ash and his friends. Together, they are far too strong for Dr. Zed's mech, and while he tries to flee, he is promptly caught, with the kids promising to turn him into Officer Jenny when they get back to Silvertown. Unfortunately, by the time they do, Ash has been disqualified from the league due to non-attendance, with Gary being given immediate access to the quarterfinals, where he faces off with a boy named Harrison. Due to Hoenn Pokemon not being a mystery in this timeline, Blasto is able to get the best of his Blaziken, with Youngo going on to win the whole tournament much to his grandfather's delight. In the wake of the closing ceremonies, Verity and Sorrel ask Ash if he regrets going after Coco, since that could have been him on the podium. Though shaking his head, the raven-haired boy grins that Gary can have this one, since there'll be other leagues and other journeys. However, it seems those journeys will have to be undertaken alone, as Sorrel reveals that he's decided to stay here in Silvertown so he can help the rest of the Biotope Company make up for Zed's misdeeds by assisting the Zarude of the forest, which he thinks is what Suicune was trying to tell him, while Verity admits that she's been thinking about it for a while, and she thinks it's time she go home and see her mum after seeing how far Coco and Dada are willing to go for each other. Naturally, Ash is saddened to say goodbye to his friends, though respecting their decisions, he bids them farewell, with the three companions parting ways with a wave, while from the tree line, a boy and his Zarude father call out their goodbyes to the humans who open their eyes and will forever be their friends. And that's where we'll leave this story, since Ash no longer has his I Choose You companions, and we've run out of I Choose You-verse movies to cover. Perhaps if more come out in the future we will continue this series. But until then, thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And I will see you as the journey continues.